Welcome everyone. Welcome back to the podcast after a far break. I'm your host today. It's a bit of an unconventional one, but inshallah, we'll get in it. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the playoffs that we had over the last week. We had a really interesting four games. Joined with me here today is the Mr. Commissioner. We got Mr. Habibi Ahmed Ibrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. It's a panel of all A's. Ahmed, Abdullah, and Ali.
Yes, for sure. And with that, I'm joined also by GM of Ikhlas, Mr. Ali Wadi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam. So, how are you guys? How are you guys feeling after those really big playoff games on Friday?
Well, from an organizing perspective, it was actually a fun night of hockey. Every game that, from an organizing perspective, everything that shouldn't have happened, but it was good. All four games went to overtime, which is good from a fan perspective, good from a hockey perspective. It really was a fun night all around. Like just watching all the games. Like I said, pretty much all games went to overtime. One went into a shootout, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But boy, what a game! And actually, just seeing the hustle and bustle at the hangar in general, just a lot of people, a lot of activity. It's definitely a good environment to be in for sure.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, with that we have all-star driving school, Mr. Rizwan Malik in the comments. He had a very big role that he played in his team's first game, scoring the overtime winner. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But before we do that, why don't we I'll pull up the this is not the updated graphic, but it's it'll do for now. With that, our final four. We'll talk about the wild card games. So Rida versus Ihsan went into overtime. It was 4-4 or 3-3, and then Mohamed Saleh scored the overtime winner. It was a beautiful goal. Walked down the wing and really just roofed it on Black Bear. Which I think has been his one of his signature goals this season. And Habibi, you were actually playing in this game, and you probably witnessed this goal firsthand. So why don't you walk us kind of just through the game and kind of through that first game with his son.
Yeah, I think this game just pretty much it was a game of both teams really wanting to get to that next level. So right off the bat, the intensity was there. I think if I recall, I think we were kind of leading in the beginning of it, but just watching what Hassan did, like in terms of like the chemistry that they got in that team with Dawood, with Casentini, with Shakib, with Sakib, with Sani. I mean, that team is absolutely stacked, and it showed. I mean, they definitely fought. Fought, made it very interesting. And like you said, this game actually went right into overtime. And Mohamed Salah has been doing what he's been doing pretty much all season, which is pretty much you give that guy any ounce of an opportunity, he'll take advantage of it and roof it. The goalies on both sides, I thought, played pretty well. We had Kizarina from our end. I know Black Bear played for Hassan on that end. It was definitely a battle of goaltenders as well. I'm sure, you know, both goaltenders probably would have, could have and probably wish they had better games. But at the end of the day, like, just having a game that went all the way to overtime just basically showed that both teams wanted it. But in the end, how it is in overtime. Any small mistake could happen.
For sure. So we actually do have footage of this of the overtime winner, so we can pull it up here and watch it. So yeah, that was the overtime winner. What are your thought? Ali, did you manage to catch this game?
No, I wasn't there for that game, but looking at the footage, Muhammad is always gonna be one of the faster guys on the floor. He has a really good wrist shot. I'm sure Black Bear would want that one back, just kind of from the angle it is. From what I heard, Red played really well. They battled. They've kind of second half of the season's played really different. We're able to come together as a team. I think the last 4 or 5 games, like 1-goal game. So going into overtime, anyone can win. You know, the nice shot, nice goal, and that's why in overtime you try and put everything on net.
For sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
and just looking at the footage, Ali's right. Like just looking at the way Mohammed just kind of kicked up the notch on the speed side, you knew that once he's going in from that from that angle, the speed that he's going at, it's a pretty tough angle for a goalie to to block. But when Mo has that speed, nothing can stop him for sure.
For sure. And now moving into the second game of the night, it was Iman versus Takwa. So 6 versus 7. You know, one of the probably really most interesting games of the night. It was a really, really big back and forth game. Um, it was a 2-2 game. Arif Khan had an equalizer in the second half for Takwa, which, then kind of prompted the game to go to overtime. We were at the hangar and there was also another soccer tournament going on. So we were worried that maybe our games will go overtime, but, definitely having both wildcard games going to overtime. And, this game ended with a, Rizwan Malik, a very, very big solo goal. And I think, both teams definitely did play hard in that overtime, but it was, he really stepped up a notch and kind of put the game on his back, and really scored a really big solo goal. What were your thoughts, Habibi? Did you manage to catch this?
I did manage to catch it, and I think if memory serves me correctly, I think it was kind of in the same area that Mo Salah scored his same goal, right? Like it's sort of that kind of angle right from that spot. I think that's kind of a sweet spot for most players. But hey, if there's any time to shine, I know Riz is one of those guys. He's always watching us, and it's good to have him show up every single weekend. But you know what, Riz, he's kind of one of those guys that kind of might stay low during the season games. But man, when it's time to shine and when the moment is there, scoring that overtime win, I'm sure he probably feels great, and obviously his team feels just as great, just knowing that got him back to the next level. But an awesome play from Riz, excellent goal, and you can't say much more about that guy. He's pretty much like when the pressure is on, he'll definitely know how to step up for sure.
Yeah, so we actually do have video footage of this one as well. So
Same spot.
yep. So it actually started with a waved off icing. I think this kind of caught some of the Tuckle players by surprise. But it was initially called icing. They waved it off, and I think that really kind of led into the turnover at the red line. But I think this kind of just goes to show that you kind of really just got to play till the whistle, especially kind of in the hangar. Any weird bounces, any the refs can change their minds at any time, and with the waved icing, I think it was a field clearance at the red line, and Riz really picked it up and kind of took it over from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's not much that players can do. Call could win either way, like in terms of like a waved icing or not a waved icing. But it's like you said, you got to pretty much wait for the rest to blow it. And an unfortunate bounce for Tuckwa, thinking that it should have been icing, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, got to play until the whistle, right? So
for sure. So were you able to catch this game? As the winner was
At the end, and right before when Riz got that ball and he beat that first guy, we were all yelling like to shoot. I think I was standing beside Dawood as well. And then he tried to make the right play, looking for the guy in the slot. But then, like I just said a few minutes ago, like in overtime, there's nothing wrong with putting on net. I don't think the goalie expected it. I personally will not comment about officiating this week. I don't want to get any more trouble. So regardless, looking at that play, then they can complain about the offside, but the player had more than enough time to make a different kind of play, go around the net or off the boards or something. But you can't just like loft it into, and I think there was a line change there too. So they got caught off guard. They still had enough time to get back, but again, overtime, nothing wrong with putting it on net.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, with that, that really propelled Iman to the quarterfinals where they faced off against Ikhlas. So unfortunately, we don't have any footage from that game. But that game was a very big back and forth game. Looking at the score sheet, the shots were 25 to Ikhlas, 24 to Iman. And the final score was 3-2, which pushes Ikhlas into that semifinal date with Sabr for this week. And so what were your thoughts kind of for that game?
I'm trying to recollect again. I don't think we played as well as we should have. I think we should have. The game plan obviously before is with the team that's already played. Don't go down to their level. We gotta hype it up a bit and use our legs. Actually, we were pretty surprised, and I mentioned this in the game, that Iman actually did like a 3-man press at one point, forcing a lot of turnovers. And once we kind of figured that out, I told the guys, just chip it off the boards because they're coming with 3 guys. If you chip it and go, it's a 2-on-1 the other way. And a couple times we did catch them, and we figured that out, that they weren't going to come back. But credit to them, they played really hard. They played really well considering their second game. And we just got to be better. I think Hamza scored another one last week. A couple got RC scored one. I think Rayan had a couple. So we were getting scoring from all over, which is good. We can't rely on 1 or 2 options. And shout out to Mikhail and Rayan. I mean, they played a hell of a game as well. They played all season long. Like, we've been relying on them, and they bring those youthful legs, causing a lot of problems for the opposing D-men.
Yeah, especially if you're that fresh team coming in, like having those 2 guys on your team, like creating that ruckus and taking advantage of already kind of like semi-depleted team of Iman because they played the game before that. When you got guys like that, like Ray, and like it's just like you need guys like that. You know what I mean? Especially like if you want to take advantage of a team that's already been playing. So kudos to them as well for sure.
Yeah, so now moving into the the final game. It was actually the second last game of the evening, but it was the other quarterfinal game. So Rida, beat Isan. They went on to play Haya, which was third place, so 5 versus 3. And they were really battling for that second semifinal spot against Yakin. And this game was really, the scoreboard doesn't really show or reflect what happened in the game. Rida did get out to an early 3-0 lead. Completely dominated that first half. Goals from Saleh Asim, Hussein Malik. They really did get secondary scoring. Habibi, I know you can definitely kind of talk about the morale on the bench, but you guys were buzzing every shift. You guys were positive, yelling out there. Everyone was even every clearance, every block shot. You guys were vocal and celebrating, and you guys really did take control of that game. To the point where some of the people actually thought the game was over after it was 3-0. Personally, my family that I brought over, they didn't even know that we tied the game 3-3 because they thought it was done and out once we were down 3-0. Habibi, what are your what was it like when you guys had that
Well, I
first?
mean, speaking from your perspective, like in terms of like our morale and our mood on the bench, you're absolutely right. And we had our goal Shiraz, like he was actually injured, so he was actually like hyping us and making sure that we were motivated on the bench. But you're absolutely right, and we just came off a victory, so we knew that whatever we did against Hassan, if we just carried it over against you guys, it would probably get us get us to where we needed to be, which is to fight the next round. But you're absolutely right. Like when we were just we thought we did extremely well in the first half, but I don't know what happened that second half. Like I don't know if Hamoudi woke up, the sleeping Egyptian giant there, because he literally got what three goals. He got a natural hat trick, in the second half, taking it into overtime. And you're absolutely right, Abdullah. I know you and I were talking about this earlier. He actually could have had 4 or 5, especially in the first half, where I think it was kind of like 2 or 3 minutes into the game. I know from where we were sitting, we actually thought, that the goalie actually saved it, but it actually went off the crossbar. Hamoudi played solid. He was absolutely taking full advantage of our team. He's a great big guy. Not much that you could do to stop him. And he really took advantage of our kind of depleted D. And to be honest with you, like it showed. Like scoring those 3 goals, kind of deflated us a little bit. But after that, it's just like Ali said, like playoff hockey is playoff hockey, and anything can happen. Just shoot the ball in net, and just see what happens. But this game again, another game that went into overtime, but it went a step further. This is where it really is a coin toss, and it was kind of like penalty shots on both ends. But Hamoudi, honestly, like he had a lot of chances. I know he had 3 goals, but he definitely could have had 4 or 5 for sure that game.
Yeah, it was like 7 minutes left, and Naeem, who was one of our defensemen, who's also injured and playing the part as coach for our team. He really just said it's 3 goals, 3 shots. And Hamoudi really did take that to heart. He scored the first one with I think 5 minutes left, and then we pulled a goalie and scored 2.
Yeah.
And then with like 30 seconds left, he had another one similar to like that first half where it was a gaping goal. This one was on his backhand, and I think Salman Khalid what did a diving like block or whatever, got a stick to it, and it
I
just missed
recall
his
that.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he saved definitely like Riz is saying here, he saved the goal on basically the goal line to really just keep the season alive. Because we honestly had no business with being 3-0 down with 5 minutes left. We had no business taking that game to overtime or even a shootout. But I think honestly it really was just showing that that hustle and kind of what we did to kind of get to third place during the season. To kind of get there. So I do have some clips of the shootout. I'm hoping that it's in good enough quality, but I'm gonna try to share it here, and hoping that I can share.
Hamoudi, I think, missed his penalty shot too. I think.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, I think 1 second. I'm gonna try to do that. But in the meantime, we can kind of just talk about the semifinal games upcoming and kind of what that means for the rest of the season. As now we're gonna be having 3 games this Friday. So the 2 semifinal games at 8 and 9, and then the finals starting around 10:45, 11 o'clock. So what's the what are your thoughts, Mr. Wadi? What are your thoughts on how you guys are gonna approach the game against Suber?
So I mean, Suber obviously was top of the table for pretty much the entire season, so it's not going to be a team to take lightly. They play more of a defensive approach. Mohamed Khaler, Dayeb, but they do have some offense. Bika had an amazing season, so one of their guys that you can't give him green light to shoot wherever, whenever he wants. Mohib had not his usual regular season, but he's a guy that can put up 3-4 goals if you give him the chances. And they're if I was to say in terms of maybe Haya as a second, a complete team concept. I think that's what Suber plays. Defensively sound. I forgot like Bilal Mohideen there, at center, going up and down or playing D. So a complete defensive game plan they have, but they also have guys that can put the ball in the back of the net. So in terms of, it's going to be one of those playoff games. We hope we can keep up with them with their speed. And I think we have the first game of the night. So whoever wins does get maybe almost a couple hours to recover, whether that's good or bad. So let's see. I don't know if they're going to want to get into a back and forth game. We have some of our younger guys that need to bring their legs. So, it should be hopefully shaping up to be a good game. And I know there's a lot of rivalry between some of the guys on the team, cousins, family, friends. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of going into this game, it's going to be a very, very fast-paced and back-and-forth game. I think with healthy teams, healthy players on both sides. I really think this could be the winner of this game will be looking pretty good to go to the to take the chip all the way in the finals. And so I really do think that goaltending will play a big part. Yusuf Kapoor, solid all season. He actually, I believe, actually don't quote me on this, but I'm not sure if he did win the best goalie award, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Versus Ali Khawaja, solid netminder, and I think very, very comfortable under that pressure. It's not his first Islam semifinals, and he's definitely shown how to take his team to the finals. And so I do think goaltending will think, but not confirmed. But Yusuf Kapoor was feeling a bit, I think he either injured his leg or had some discomfort with his leg. So that could be a talking point for the season. And we'll see on Friday how Saber responds. But moving into the second game of the evening, Rida versus Yakin, second place versus fifth place, and Rida did kind of come up against two really tough opponents last week, Ihsan and Haya, and both managed to beat both the first in overtime, the second in a shootout. Habibi, what is really going to be your guys' strategy to go the whole way to beat Yakin, who looked absolutely stellar in the season, and Sabr or Ikhlas in the finals?
Yeah, just taking some points what Ali was saying in terms of youth and legs and stuff like that. I think we're gonna have to rely on our younger guys as well. We have a core contingent of younger guys that can definitely keep up in terms of like a team as well built and well constructed with chemistry. We know that all the guys on Yokin are pretty much from Malton, so they do have that established chemistry right from the outset. So they are familiar with their plays, and they do love that that run and gun kind of fast-paced Malton play that they kind of are accustomed to. But just like Ali said, there's also family rivalries and cousins and all that mixed up in between. So you got all that in our matchup. You got you got a recipe for a good game. But for us, to be honest with you, like and we haven't touched upon this as well, but both Sabr and Yakin haven't played in a couple of weeks. Given the breaks and all that stuff, so they don't have they haven't played with each other for a while. So just coming into a 2 week hiatus and then bang getting into like playoff semi-final final hockey. I mean, that kind of intensity, they got to bring it up right away, where you got teams like myself, sort of like Rod and Akhlas, where we kind of been playing last week, kind of getting to where we need to be, so we kind of have that established chemistry getting us into that that playoff mode into the next round. So I think that kind of could play an advantage for Rida and maybe for Ikhlas as well, where we have played last week, and for us we played twice last week. So for us, we kind of have that we pretty much know our roles and where we belong and what we need to do. But sorry, not Malta, but Yakin is a great team. They're definitely, like I said, they're a team based on speed. They definitely got guys that can put it behind the net. They got guys that can dangle, and they got the established chemistry, like I said, because they all play together, and they play that kind of Malton system of hockey where it's kind of run and gun and kind of dangle. And for us older guys, we just got to play a little bit smarter. But we do have a contingent of younger guys that can match up to their level as well. So for us, I think if we just keep up to their style of play and kind of slow them down to our style of play, I think we should be okay. And I think that's again, for them, not playing last week might hurt them, might help them, but there's only one way to find out, right? So
For sure, for sure. And I think regardless of kind of the outcome, I think it's definitely going to be a very very fast paced game. You're going to have potential league MVP Mohammad Shabir Patel, versus Mohammad Saleh, who's been stellar and phenomenal in kind of bringing Rida to the next level. I think it's going to be a very very fast paced game, and the defense will definitely have to play a big part. Farouk, who's been solid. They also have Mohammad Patel.
they got both Farouks, I think, right?
Yeah, they have both Farouks. For both Farouks, they have Mohammad Patel on defense as well, and I think Yakin is looking very 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 strong in their
Yeah.
attempt at getting the fourth straight Yakin title, which has never been done before in Islam, and let's just see what kind of what happens during the night.
Yeah, and just playing that, because I know we're playing that second game and just kind of getting that 45-minute break in between. It could hurt us. It could, it depends on which way you look at. Like Ali was saying, like having that 1 hour and a 1 hour break or 1.5 hour break between the two games could, it could work in either way. To be honest with you, but I think Friday is going to be really good hockey. I think it's going to be intense because obviously there's only 4 teams remaining and only two can remain, right? And of course, by the end of the night, there's only one that can remain, and that's going to be the champion, inshallah. So I think all 4 teams are going to come out strong, to be honest with you, regardless of what situation or what their journey was, whether you played 1 game, 2 games, or 0 games to get to the semifinals. But it really boils down to what we were talking about last week, which is like really the team that really wants it more will end up winning.
For sure. And Mr. Wadi, any final thoughts with your team going into the semis and potentially finals? What do you think will be like that key difference in the game?
I think whichever team makes the least amount of mistakes. Suburb does not seem to make a lot of mistakes. That's why they have one of the better goals against. Yusuf, or not having Yusuf, could be a key factor. I mean, if he's hurt and trying to play through it, how does that affect him? And if he's not playing, who comes in, and can they replicate pretty much goaltender of the season performance? For us, it's a matter of just being smart with the ball, playing in the opposition end, and some of our guys need to use their big frames against some of their smaller guys, neutralize their speed coming in the other way. And when we do get a chance, we got to bury it because they don't give up a lot of chances.
For sure. And I think one thing that hasn't really been mentioned is after Ramadan, Sabr actually hasn't won a game. They are first place. They did get the 8 straight wins, but after that kind of break, they didn't really kind of get a win. They I believe they did tie a game, but they kind of are definitely going to need to kind of show why they were first place. And I think teams like Ikhlas and potentially a team in the finals can kind of use that and really use that as motivation to knock off the first place team. And I think regardless of what happens, it'll be a very, very tight and kind of fast-paced game, like you said. But yeah, I think moving back to the shootout game, I was able to get one of the clips of like the game-winning shootout. Actually, it was a miss from Sufyan Sheikh that sent Rida to the semifinals, but I was able to get that clip, so we'll just play that now, inshallah, and then final thoughts, and we can wrap up this podcast. So I believe this is this is Hamoudi's first shot, but I think it's all 3 in 1.
Is that you?
Yeah, that was me. I think I did my job, but
all right, okay. Nice goal though.
This was the miss that sent you guys to the semifinals. I think
Alhamdulillah.
Suf beats Khizr and hits the post and then hits the back.
Oh, inches.
Yeah. Hit the post and then,
when you look at it from that way, it's like you were inches away. Wow.
Yeah. So like you kind of mentioned this entire podcast, playoffs, anything can happen, and let's just see if anything happens this Friday. Maybe overtime in the finals would be amazing. We haven't had an overtime or shootout in the finals since I believe winter 2022. So let's see. But yeah, anyways, Habibi or Ali, any final concluding comments before we kind of wrap up the show?
No, I'm looking forward to Friday. I think the guys are excited. There's a bunch of guys I think on our team that haven't yet tasted a championship in Iceland, so motivation is there. Again, it's 2 good teams that know each other well, so should be a fun game. It's one of those games where everyone looks forward to playing.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm looking forward to all 3 games actually. So 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10:45 game. I'm hoping, like it's going to be just as fun and packed as last week. There's nothing better than watching like playoff hockey. You know what I mean? Just watching guys going all out, giving out their whole best, and just kind of like doing what they've done throughout the whole season, making sure that they just kind of like got that one shot, just make sure that they do it as perfect as they can. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody come out, families, friends. There are awards that we need to give out. So if we can just get those guys coming out just to make sure that they accept their awards and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all three games. And honestly, like it's like Ali said, the team that makes the least mistakes, and obviously the team that that plays hard and wants it more will end up winning. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited, really pumped, and hopefully, inshallah, we can get a lot of people watching, inshallah, on Friday.
Yeah, inshallah. And with that, I think hopefully we see a lot more people. Even though you guys are out, come out and support the the rest of the teams, and kind of watch a good solid 3 games, inshallah. So yeah, with that, we'll say salam, and I think this is going to be the last podcast, unless we're going to do an award podcast next week. This is possibly the last podcast of the season. If you haven't already signed up for a summer season, there are a few spots left. So do get your registration in, and look to play in the summer. We're going to be doing I believe 5 or 6 teams. If we get a little bit more people, we can do maybe 6 teams. And then one thing to also note is Islam is also looking for some players to kind of step up and join the actual team. So we are looking for graphic designers, as well as people with video and photography skills, and video editing skills to edit our highlights. We have a lot of footage that we'd like to kind of get out on our page, but we just don't have the resources to do it. And lastly, social media as well. So if you are interested, check out our Instagram, message myself or anyone kind of on the organizing committee, and we'd love to have you guys get involved. And with that, I think we'll end the stream now. And Jazakallah Ali and Habibi for joining.
And thank you, Abdullah, for everything that you do. Thank you for hosting. You've done a great job, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing for the league as well.
Jazakallah. And with that, good luck to both of your teams. So yeah, assalamu alaikum, guys.
Wa alaikum salam.